Hey, what's up, everyone? Thanks for joining uh, myself and DMar for another edition of Ben and D in the morning. Uh, I love this freaking show. I love Saturday mornings. Love college football. If you can't tell, I haven't been to sleep yet. DMar, how are you doing this morning?
Yeah, you got a little workout in. Give the audience a little flex for him real quick. Little Saturday morning
Yeah.
flex. Yeah, Ben's a wild man. He worked late last night. I don't even think he's been to sleep yet. So y'all should really appreciate him being on here. And I can't. Yeah, there's no telling what all is running through his system right now, but he's got it going and he's ready for us. So yeah, we're starting a few minutes late, but let's get after it and let's have a good day.
Yeah, so we're gonna try to. I know we actually didn't talk. We talk about prop bets all throughout the week. I didn't really mention this to you, but we're gonna try to throw in some more prop bets, touchdown bets, yards, stuff you like. Because I mean, that's all DFS really is. I mean, in a nutshell, is who we think we're gonna do, who we think is gonna do good, and things like that. And Dalton for sure. I mean, he's not gonna brag on himself, but he's been crushing these prop bets, touchdown bets. It's been insane. Uh, and we missed a huge one. Let's talk about that real quick. That holding call last week
Well,
on
that's
our
what's so dumb, but it wasn't even a holding call. It was a blindside block. So I mean, it's just
and
2 or 3 years ago that wouldn't even be called, and we'd be celebrating that. But yeah,
man,
Mike
it's like
Wright had that long touchdown run, and instead of the guy just decided to lower that shoulder and decleat the guy and got the flag thrown. So that's how
yeah,
it
but I
goes,
mean,
though. We've had a go ahead.
yeah, I mean, you can't be upset about that though. I mean, it is what it is. I still think it was a good
Well,
call. I mean, you got him at
no, I
what
mean,
plus
I
300?
still and it ended up being what barely plus money by the time
Yeah,
kickoff started. So, yeah, I mean, it's tough, but that's just I'm quickly learning that's just how how betting can go. I've been past 2 nights. I've had about an 8 or 9 leg parlay and it's missed by one. And Scoot Henderson's on my shit list right now from last night, but we're done with the NBA for at least today and tomorrow, and we got football now, so let's not worry about that basketball right now.
yeah, no, I agree. But yeah, like you said, we are running a little bit behind. Some of these games we'll be able to zoom through. But man, this is a fun slate. There's a ton of great plays. Uh, I mean, because I think we were talking a few slates ago, we didn't really know what direction to go. I mean, it's hard to feel like you're going in the wrong direction on this slate. But starting us off here, we have Florida State versus Wake Forest, 52 over under. Florida State's big favorites here, 20 and a half points. Uh, I'll just jump right in with Travis. He's got zero traction. I'm curious what your take on him is. If you can play him in large field GPPs, think he's going to have a good day. And then, of course, I think we're still waiting on the Johnny Wilson news. I'm sure you're up to date on that, which would bring
Yeah,
Coleman into play. But what do you think about this game?
yeah, I think that's definitely some bigger news because we've seen each time that Wilson has been out and even limited, which is what he may be, even if he does play. We've seen Keon Coleman just smash. So definitely gonna have a lot of interest in him. I think Travis is pretty much just kind of what he is every week. He makes for a good GPP play, but just someone you're not really wanting to force in with some of these other quarterback options we have. So not a whole lot of interest on anything on the Wake Forest side. But as soon as we get that Johnny Wilson news, that definitely gives a big bump to Coleman and even Bell. They're tied in. We saw, I can't remember what game it was. Let me see here.
He's
I
been
think it was
good when
2 weeks
Wilson's out.
ago. Yeah, which he's just been kind of solid. Yeah, it was the Syracuse game. He had 4 for 87, and if I remember correctly, had one that he just got overthrown that would have been another long one. So I mean, for his price, definitely makes for a good play, and she gets a few extra looks. So yeah, those are my two interests there. I mean, the running backs just kind of you know GPP plays. Um, Benson's a little too expensive, especially with what he's priced around. And Tolifa, he's been running pretty good here lately. You know what? He didn't score. Yeah, he caught a receiving one last week. So I mean, touchdowns in 3 straight weeks. So 4,100. I don't mind that play either. So
No,
um,
I agree. I agree with you. Everything. I mean, where do you rank Coleman as a receivers right now?
Um,
In, out of everyone.
he's definitely up there, even with Johnny Wilson in. But if he's out, I mean, I would say top 3 for sure, top 5 receiver on the slate today.
Okay. Yeah, not,
And
not
that's
much.
also and that's also going to get you a little bit different because I mean, it's not like he's real expensive, but yeah, I mean, 7K. Everyone's going to be. There's so many good running back plays. I think you're going to see majority of lineups with um, 3 running backs, and they're all going to be priced up pretty well. So you getting Coleman in there might get you a little bit different as well.
Yeah, I know you put that in your article, not to give away too much, but I mean, spinning up for a receiver, you're automatically going to be different. You just have to be. There's a shit ton of good
Yeah.
running back plays. It's a good week for some touchdown bet or prop bets, that's for sure. The next game is going to be Houston versus Kansas State. 60 over under. So it's one of the, I think there's 3 games on this slate that have 60 totals of 60 and over. Pretty big spread though. Kansas State, 17.5 point favorites. I'm just going to let you jump right into this one. What are we doing with this game? Because it's just, I know there's some good plays, but I don't know. I like some of the better games or some of the other games.
Yeah. You said the Houston game.
Yeah, Houston versus Kansas State.
Yeah. It's an interesting game. I think I think the Houston side is pretty interesting for GPPs. We've seen Donovan Smith kind of get some traction the last few weeks. Put up some good scores. I mean, did about what he wanted against Texas. They were trailing. They had to kind of come from behind, so it kind of sped him up a little bit. But he has looked good the past few weeks. Does give you some rushing upside. Didn't show it last week, but it's definitely there. And he's got 3 good receivers. I think Golden makes for a good GPP play, but Manjack's kind of your safer, check down guy. That I think Manjack would be my favorite receiver for him.
Okay.
But yeah, definitely don't mind that for GPPs. Not touching that in anything like single entry type stuff, but not bad there. And then Kansas State, man, they've just been beating up on people. And I think that's going to kind of scare some people away off Houston. And I really don't know. I don't think Kansas State's defense is that good, but their numbers and they just keep. I mean, I played TCU guys against them last week, and that was miserable watching. I mean, they could. I think they didn't even score a touchdown. So yeah, I think Kansas State's. They've got a pretty good squad this year. The quarterbacks you can't play either one of them because they're playing both. So not touching that. The running backs, what's going to be interesting. Um, Ward, I think, is going to get some ownership today. I mean, you look at his game logs. I mean, I think his lowest game's 11. Um, and yeah, he had almost 20 carries last week. Um, him and Giddens, pretty much split. Ward's looked better. I think Giddens broke off the long one last week and kind of kept his price up. But Houston's rush defense is towards the bottom, so you definitely kind of want to attack Kansas or Houston in that way. So both running backs are in play, but Ward's going to be the one that you're going to target more. And there is one receiver. Was it this Jace Brown? He like 7 targets last week. The freshman, 3,900. So decent little value on today's slate. It's definitely more of a GPP play because we're not sure. Kansas State does like to move around their receivers and play a few of them, but um, he didn't play up until last week, so these last 2 weeks he's kind of gotten some more runs. So it looks like they like what they see out of him, and he looks the part too. So that's passes the eye test. So not a bad
Any,
little value play there.
any love for Senate or just not mess with it?
Yeah, I mean, you can, but I mean, it's not nothing I'm gonna try to get to.
Yeah, it's weird because I mean Smith is a good quarterback and he has those 3 receivers, so it makes me want to try to make a stack it
Yeah,
up. But
I think if I was making 5 teams, I might
go
have him
Smith
in
and
one,
Zack.
and then yeah, maybe go a run back with Kansas State because this game it's sneaky. If Houston's offense is clicking, we know Kansas State's going to score some points. So this is definitely one of the sneakier game stacks on the day. It's just a little bit harder to figure out, the pieces of it.
Yeah, I mean, with it being a 60 total, Vegas has to think Houston's going to score. And this game,
Yeah.
this is definitely going to be a lowest owned game out of the 60 totals.
Yeah. Well, and
No,
it's just like Kansas State. I mean, they can get down in the 5-yard line, and I mean, legitimately could be either quarterback run it in. It could be, one of the two running
yeah,
backs. So it's just, there's a few more spots on today's slate that we have a little bit more clarity on, um, kind of who's going to hopefully get it. So
no, you're right. But we can move on. This next game, I think, is going to be an exciting one. We have Oklahoma versus Kansas, 66 over under. Oklahoma's only 8.5 point favorites. Uh, I think this game's great. I know it's going to be popular, at least from the Oklahoma side. I believe Gabriel's coming in as maybe one of the highest owned quarterbacks. I mean, I think he's in a good spot. I know he didn't crush last week, but I still think he got like what 20, 24 maybe after 23, rather after having two monster games. Uh, what do you like about him? And then tell me about Bean. I mean, 6.7. He nuked the slate last week against Texas. Can he do it again today? And what receiver are we pairing up with Gabriel if we go that route?
yeah, yeah, Gabriel definitely is a very solid play. He's I don't know. I've just not been able
I've
to
had
click
no
the
luck.
button on him yet this year. Yeah, it's been that way with me for him. So I've just I think he's one of the safest plays on the board. I mean, you are paying 9.4 for him, so I mean, he's going to get you probably at least 20, and definitely shown upside for Morgs. I mean, he's ran the ball well this year, and his receivers look good. And Kansas's defense has been pretty rough, especially against some better offenses. Um, it does look like Oklahoma's running backs are looking to be pretty much full force this week. We saw last week that Walker was out, but I think it was due just to like a suspension type. It wasn't anything to do with injury. I did see a depth chart and it had him like fourth on it, but we've seen before that you can't always trust the college depth charts. So I think if you did want to take a chance on either running back, you could go back to Shawshuck, who we kind of got lucky with last week. He's probably about the only one because I do think that you probably see about four running backs this today. So hard to get a whole lot of interest in that. But yeah, Gabriel and I think Nick Anderson's going to be probably one of the higher owned receivers on the slate today. Um, like I said, look great last week, first game, in a true starting role. One of his long touchdowns was on a busted coverage, so it's not necessarily. I mean, it's obviously counts the same as anything else, but it does make you kind of, it's not as clear as as normal. But yeah, I think Farouk's actually kind of the guy. I think everyone's going to drop down to Anderson and maybe even some Stoops. So I think just because Farouk didn't have that good of a game last week, I think they can go right back to him and kind of get him going this week. So I think if I did pair anyone up, it'd be Farouk and just try to get off the chalk a little bit with Anderson. But that's not me saying Anderson's a bad play. It's just trying to get a little bit different. So yeah, and then on the Kansas side, you know, it looks like Daniels is going to be a no go. There was some talk that he might try to get some playing time because we've seen Kansas split quarterback reps before. Um, but yeah, not a whole lot of interest in Bean. Plumlee looked really good against Oklahoma's defense last week, but I think that was just kind of Oklahoma maybe taking them a little lightly. I think they come back and kind of shut Kansas down. So there's really not any interest this week. Neal, um, he's one of the most talented running backs, in the country, but I think Oklahoma kind of tightens it up this week, and I really don't have any interest on any Kansas guys this week. So I think it's just the Oklahoma side, and I'll probably be underweight on the Oklahoma side as well.
If you were to go Gabriel, do you think you can double stack, or would you just pick one?
I think you definitely can. It's I just when you're double stacking, you pretty much counting on trying to get it all, and sometimes it's just it's definitely a way to get to the top if you hit it right, but
Yeah.
if you miss on even one of the touchdowns, I feel like you're almost kind of limiting your upside. So
No, I agree. Yeah, not much from the Kansas side. I was kind of higher on Oklahoma's defense, so I was surprised with what Plumlee did to him last week. Honestly, I was completely off of him. I know you. you had Baker, or did you? Was that one of the swaps? He still had a good day, but I know you.
Yeah. Yeah, I still love Baker, and he, what he had, like, 2 and over 100, so that was tough, but
Just
it is what it is.
33.
Yeah.
Speaking
Yeah, I think
speaking of Javon Baker, we'll get into the West Virginia game. They're playing UCF. It's 59 and a half over under, and UCF is 6.5 point favorites. This is actually one of my favorite games in the slate. I think it's probably going to be popular as well, just with some price tags.
yeah.
A lot of people are going to be flocking, I think, to Plumlee, which when I seen his price, I did have to kind of double look check it because it seems cheap. I love Green on the other side. We're both RJ Harvey lovers. I want to play him. There's just so many good running backs. I'm probably going to have him in one of my 3 teams. But what are you doing with Plumlee? Is he just mispriced? What do you think?
Yeah, I've struggled with, Plumlee, I like him a lot, but man, he's like the definition of just up and down quarterback. It really surprised me last week how he looked against Oklahoma, because I mean, we've seen plenty of times where he's really struggled to throw the ball. He seems like he's always injured, so it kinda, because you want him for his rushing upside, and,
He's always hurt.
yeah, yeah, I mean, he's definitely a, injury prone guy, and that's another thing too is, if he does get hurt, I mean, you always gotta kinda play that into it a little bit, so, I don't think he's bad chalk, but, I definitely think there's some red flags on him, and, but I mean, the matchup's great. I do think in this game, I give a slight edge to, Garrett Green if I'm playing one of the quarterbacks. Yeah, he's definitely, he's looked really good, and Central Florida's defense is very leaky. So yeah, if I was picking one quarterback in this game, I'd go Green. But I think both are great plays. Even running backs. I think Harvey's going to probably top 3 in ownership. I don't know if he gets higher than Brooks for Texas, but for his price, he's definitely definitely in a good spot. And I mean, even with the running backs, we've seen, I've even seen it with Richardson's, that Johnny Richardson starting the game for Central Florida. So um, you never can feel too comfortable playing anybody for Central Florida, but the matchup is really good. Um, the receivers all priced nicely. Baker's going to definitely get some ownership again, and Hudson's a guy that's not really popped here lately, but he's always. I mean, there's games last year. I might have even done it once this year. Yeah, he caught a couple. So definitely think he's kind of the more contrarian. If you want to get a little bit different in GPPs, you can pay a little bit less because everyone's going to go to Baker there if you can pay 300 more. So Hudson's a good contrarian, a little pivot off that, and even Townsend. We've had some luck with him in the past, and he's always a big play guy. So I think all 3 of them are in play. Baker definitely the safest with Hudson and Townsend kind of being your GPP plays there. And the West Virginia side, we've like I said, I've already mentioned on Green, like him a lot. I was a little bit higher on Donaldson. I thought this was a matchup he could kind of get going on, but I'm worried a little bit. There's been some talks that just how inefficient he's kind of been. I do think they might get this Johnson Jr. I think Justin Johnson Jr. Um, yeah, he had 14 carries last week, so that's definitely a little bit of a concern. And I think you could even take a stab on him in some GPPs if you wanted a cheap running back. It definitely looks like he's getting enough workload to definitely pay off a 3.9 tag. So one to kind of mention there, and he's actually looked a little bit better than Donaldson. So yeah, and then receiver wise, I definitely think Carter's kind of the guy you'd want to go, but I don't mind. Even both of these quarterbacks. I think more Central Florida. If you went Plumlee, you'd want to go receiver. But if you go Green, you don't necessarily have to pair him up with anyone.
Yeah, no, I agree. Green, I was on Green last week. He was in one of my 3 teams. I even did his touchdown prop for anytime touchdown, which it didn't hit. That was the last leg of one of my. I think it was a five leg parlay. I know I remember I sent it to you, and I was tilting a little bit towards the end. But I mean, he had 117 rushing yards. I could see him getting that this week. Throwing a couple. He probably is going to get that rushing touchdown this week. So I love him. He's one of the main reasons why I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get all the way up to a Gabriel or a Caleb Williams, who we'll talk about later. Do love Plumlee. So you think Harvey's ownership will be like in the 20s, even with Plumlee being pretty popular? Think people will play him together?
Oh yeah, at least 20.
Okay.
Yeah, at
No.
least 20. I mean, it could even get up higher than that, depending on what you're in.
Yeah. I do like the Johnson Jr. call. I know I was with you on Donaldson, thinking that he could be someone that we could put in play, but there's just no way, not on this slate, that you could take a risk like that. Yeah, we'll go ahead and move on to the next game. This one's not as sexy. It's South Carolina versus Texas A&M. 52 over under, so a little lower, and A&M is 17-point favorites. So one thing we know is that South Carolina is terrible. They can't stop the run. Texas A&M should be able to do whatever they want. And is Moss a lock? Is he a must play? What do you think about A&M?
Yeah, I think if you're playing, cash or single entry type stuff like that, I think Moss is definitely one of your safest plays per price, with the price and everything and the matchup. So yeah, I have no, complaints with playing Moss. I do think the upside is a little bit capped with him. These
I want
SEC games, I feel like
to know if you're playing Moss.
You want to know if I'm playing him?
I know you probably aren't.
Yeah, I don't know yet. We'll see. I think I just think there's some more running backs in this area that you can get. I mean, if you told me, you want to get a for sure 12 to 15, then I mean, I think Moss falls in the end zone. I'll definitely be betting his prop for anytime touchdown.
Yeah.
And even you're getting some decent odds on him getting like 50 rushing yards, something like that. So you could pair that up together in a little parlay and get it up to plus money. But yeah. So I mean, that's just kind of what it is. I definitely think in this game, I think Evan Stewart, the receiver, we've seen his price come down a lot, and like I said, he's been terrible since Max Johnson's took over, but we're still getting plenty of targets. I think he's still averaging 7 or 8 targets a game. So he's going to pop one of these games. And like I said, we know South Carolina's defense isn't any good. So yeah, I mean his price has been in the 7Ks all year. So to get him at 58 is definitely a discount. So this could be a spot where he kind of pops and makes for a really good GPP play. So definitely have some interest in him. And South Carolina side, we look like we were going to have some value on there, but it does look like Leggette's going to play. So that kind of knocks down a little bit of some of these other guys. I know like Trey Knox was getting some ownership, and I think he's still in play because I do think they're going to be trailing here, and Spencer Rattler's going to be throwing the ball around. And you never know with South Carolina. Like Rattler can pop off and have a Heisman worthy performance anytime. So.
Did they lose that many pieces last year from last year's team?
I mean,
because they were looking good last year at the end of the year.
Well, it's just how they are. I mean, some games they look great, and some games they look terrible. Yeah, they've had some injuries this year, and they lost Lloyd over to USC and stuff. So I mean, there's been a little bit of turnover, but definitely they should be better than what they've played this year. But yeah, so I mean, I think you can, if you're making like 20 teams or something, I would probably have Rattler in a team because I do think he's got the upside to kind of get there. Because I mean, heck, he's had games where he's not even played good and he's still throwing for over 300 yards. So if the touchdowns come, then he could definitely have a good game. But yeah, for A&M, Moss and Stewart, I do think Max Johnson's popping some in some of these optimizers and at 6,500 just because of the matchup and everything. But man, I don't know. He just doesn't do it for me. I mean, you look at his game logs. I mean, he's had some other good spots too, and he's not performed. So I think I'd rather get to the dude for Cal if you're paying down at quarterback. But he's not a terrible play. Like I said, 6,500 is pretty good for a quarterback. And especially if this game, if South Carolina gets some traction on offense, he's going to have to throw the ball around, and like him and Stewart could make for a high upside play.
Uh, yeah, I'm not really in on Johnson. I kept trying to make it work, and looking into him, and I just, especially if he's going to get a little bit of ownership, I'd much rather just go elsewhere. So real quick, so with Leggett playing, does that take? Because I had Omega Blake wrote down as a value. Does that take him out of play? I don't think you mentioned. I know you mentioned Knox. Anything on
Yeah,
Blake with Leggett?
yeah, I think he's still fine. Anytime you get guys like that, they're that cheap. Um,
Okay.
yeah, I mean, it knocks it down a little bit because Leggett is kind of their guy now. But yeah, I wouldn't worry too much about it.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's
Next.
another one they lost because that Jaheim Bell. You talk about losing people. I mean, they lost him to Florida State. He was another good piece for them last year. Uh,
Oh, yeah. I thought I heard they lost some guys. That's why I asked because there's just no way that could be this bad after. I mean, who all did they
yeah.
beat then last year? Not to get too.
Well, the big one was Tennessee. They upset because Tennessee still had playoff hopes, and
Yeah.
that's also the game Hooker got hurt, kind of
Ah,
derailed Tennessee. Yeah.
a double whammy.
Hmm.
But yeah, next game not very exciting. We have Indiana versus Penn State. Penn State's coming off the loss. They're probably just gonna beat the shit out of Indiana if I had to guess. I mean, 31-point favorites. Can he play Singleton and Allen? Can he play them together? Are you avoiding the whole situation? And then talk about Lambert Smith.
Yeah, I think maybe on a different slate you can play them together. I mean, I do think there's a good chance. Like I'm not seeing like if there was a bet, if you got decent odds on it for both of them to go over 100, I wouldn't mind taking a stab at that. I do think the running backs kind of get going this week, and there's no reason they shouldn't, honestly, unless they just try to get Alaire going. And even in that case, I mean, Singleton's been getting involved with the passing game a little bit more. I think Singleton. I do this to myself a lot with him, but he's become one of my favorite players today, and probably yeah. I mean, and I like a lot of his props too. His anytime touchdowns, not
I
the
know,
best odds, but if he
I know exactly how this goes. Allen scores the first touchdown, and I start getting some
yeah,
messages
I
from you. But
know.
then Singleton scores, and then you just forget about
Yeah,
it, and then you do it all over again.
yeah. I mean, I think there's just going to be so many opportunities here. You know, I think both of them are in good spots, and then I think like Lambert Smith is popping big time in some of these optimizers. 6,100, and you know, obviously don't like the game flow of it because we've seen, especially teams like Penn State, they go slow and they, if they get up a few scores, they're definitely not going to be trying to pass it much more. So you definitely, it's a gut play you want to get early on, but I mean, the receiver room is pretty bad, so they know, Lambert Smith kind of the only consistent they have in the passing game. So don't mind him. Wish he was a tad bit cheaper, but I think he makes for a good play. And I think I'm going to take my approach with him and just kind of bet some more props on him instead of playing him. Um, but yeah, he looks good this week. And then I even was reading some on the Penn State and this Cephas. Dante Cephas. I think he came from Kent State. A transfer in was pretty good there in the MAC. Hasn't really been able to get going, but they did. He was working with the ones all this week in practice, and the coach even kind of made a few comments. I do think they try to get a little bit going. Um, if he was in the 3K range, I might have a tiny bit of interest, but 4.3, definitely think it's more of it's obviously a GPP play, but if he caught a long one, I wouldn't be surprised this week. So, because that's kind of his mo is more of a deep ball type guy. Um,
Would you be surprised if Jalen Lucas caught one?
I was thinking about that. I mean, he's played good in some of these bigger games, but I mean, you better hope he does one because I don't think he's going to have much more than that. But yeah, I'm always going to
Well,
like Lucas, but it's just tough.
every time we talk about Indiana, they're in the worst spot possible.
Well, they're always in the worst spot possible. As they
Every,
suck.
I know. Ever since that Louisville game, whenever we got him at like 2%, he just nuked. Uh,
Yeah, and what he was, what a couple yards away from his bonus too. Would have put him over the 30 mark.
Mm-hmm. But
98 yards receiving. Yeah.
yeah, we'll go ahead and move on to the next game. Not super exciting. It's Duke versus Louisville. 45.5 over under. Louisville 6-point favorites. Uh, there is some plays to like from this game. Between Jordan and Thrash, I'm curious to get your opinion on them. I'll touch on Balin real quick. You can't play him. I tortured myself by playing him 2 weeks ago against NC State. He didn't have a bad game, but I don't know. Not at 7K. I just did kind of getting crazy. You know how I get in my little spills of watching highlights and talk myself into doing stuff. But I don't think he's a great play. Or is real quick, is Leonard confirmed out yet?
I think he's going to try to play.
Oh, okay. Well, then then you definitely don't want to play him. And probably not Leonard either, right?
Yeah, no interest in Leonard. He's definitely he just don't look right. I mean everything points to this is Louisville kind of rolling here. I
Yeah.
think Duke's not right with Leonard out, and then I know your boy, the backup quarterback for Duke, he's not very good.
He's not in it. I mean, they don't let him spread his wings. They just want him to run it.
And there might be a reason for that. Might be a reason. Real quick though, before we get into this one, real quick, I do have some. It looks like no Johnny Wilson yet warming up, so
Okay.
looks like it doesn't look like he's going to go today. I mean that could always change, but the receivers are all on the field and no Johnny Wilson yet. So and Keon Coleman is actually wearing a Johnny Wilson T-shirt. And also a little bit of Houston news. Manjack is out, didn't make the trip. So if you do any Houston, let's mark him off and might kind of look into that a little bit and see who's going to kind of fill his role. If we get maybe a little cheaper, yeah, we might get a little cheaper piece there that could step in there because Houston usually always has some dudes. So we'll kind of look into that and see if I find anything else before the show's over.
Okay.
But yeah, that's kind of where we're at with that. But yeah, so we were on the you're talking about the Duke Louisville game. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I don't really have any interest in anything on Duke. I do think there's a few interesting spots on Louisville. I think Jair Jordan is if you're asking me to rank my tournament plays, I mean, I think he's up towards the top. Anytime there's a questionable tag, which I saw earlier that he's expected to play, it's obviously going to ding some of his ownership some, priced up a little bit as well. But I mean, we've seen him just have some monster games this year, and so yeah, I think he's an excellent tournament play if you have the money for it. Fire him up. And then Thrash, he's been a boy that's done as well this year. And yeah, 6,100, good price for the kind of workload he gets. And like I said, I think Louisville handles business here, and I think both of them are great tournament plays.
Yeah, no, Thrash has done great. That game that he only had 7, he got hurt, didn't he?
Let's see, the NC State game. I can't remember if that's the one he got hurt in or
he actually might have got hurt on the game.
He hurt he's been dealing with a little bit of a wrist injury. I'm telling you, those NC State games, they're tough. They run some funky defense. So anytime I really don't put a lot of stock in anything that happens with the passing attack against NC State. They run one of the weirdest defenses. So I wouldn't put too much stock into that one. I think that was the game that was on like a Friday night or something. So I remember watching that one. But anyway, yeah, he's been great this year. It looks like he is a little hurt, but I wouldn't worry about that. So yeah, don't mind that at all. And I think even the Coleman, we've talked about him before, but 3,600. I think there's some better spots, but he's not a terrible play either, GPP wise.
Okay. We'll go ahead and move on to the Pittsburgh Notre Dame game. Notre Dame's big favorites, 20.5 points. It's only a 45 total. Are you doing anything with this game? I don't think you can play Hartman. I mean, Estime's probably going to score a touchdown, but he's super expensive. Don't know how you play him over some of the other guys. You
Yeah.
like anything in this one?
Not really. I think, like you said, Estime's fine, but I mean, he is expensive. Not sure if he can really get there. I mean, we've seen him break a few long ones this year, so that's what it's going to take. And it's just hard to count on something like that. The only other thing on Notre Dame is that Jaden Greathouse. He's 3,400. Um, he's been out a lot. He's been hurt a little bit, but he's back this week, and he's definitely been one of Hartman's favorite targets. So don't hate that. And then minimal interest on the Pitt side. Um, Acebo Flimster, it is a revenge game for him, 4,400, and has been getting quite a few touches this last few weeks. So at 4,400, he needs to do a little bit more than just fall in the end zone, but he definitely could score a touchdown this week and get you 50 or so yards. And if somehow he does break a couple, then he could make for a pretty good play at that price. So honestly, he's probably my favorite play in this game.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, 4,400. I like it. I mean, that's a good price, and
Yeah,
he's getting a lot of work. Revenge narrative. You gotta love it.
yeah. So don't
I mean,
don't
we can
mind
go.
it.
We can go ahead and move on from this one. I mean, there's just not much in it. I mean, if you just have to play somebody, I guess you could play this Evans 5,400, but who wants to pay that for a tight end? Uh, but moving on, we have BYU versus Texas. It's a Texas is 20-point favorites. It's a 49.5 over under. And I'm gonna let you open it up. I know in your article you had wrote up something about Malik Murphy, and then is there any way we don't play Jonathan Brooks today?
Yeah, he's definitely Brooks has definitely been, probably the steadiest running back in the entire country. Gets they just love feeding him, and when you think about it, it's one of those things you don't really want to overthink it. I think it's just breaking in a new quarterback. We're not sure what we're going to get out of that, so they're definitely going to want to probably get even more touches to him. They like throwing the ball to him, little short routes, screen game. So definitely probably the safest play on the board. Do think his ownership is going to be pretty insane. So if you're trying to take something down, I don't hate the fade. I do think you can pivot to the passing game and maybe take a chance on Murphy. Um, I think he's better than some people have given him kind of credit for. He can definitely make some throws, and I think I think this might be the week that your boy Worthy finally pops off. I think he's. I was talking about Jordan earlier being one of my favorite tournament plays. I think Worthy's right up there with him. And like you said earlier, paying up for receivers is going to get you a little bit different. So, yeah, I could see Worthy having a big game here, and him and Murphy throws a good deep ball, could hit Worthy on one, maybe two. They're going to try to pepper him some with these short, screen games and quick passes. So, yeah, I like Worthy a lot today, and both running backs I have some interest in. If you're making three teams, Brooks probably should be in at least for sure one, probably two. He's definitely in a really good spot, and I think even Baxter is. If you want to pivot a little bit that way, I think he'll get a little bit more work. He's not reached 10 carries the last few weeks, but I think this week he gets there, especially if they get up a little bit. And yeah, I think there's a lot to like on this Texas side, and be kind of interested to see because the thing about it is Murphy. He's got plenty of weapons around him. Um, he's got one of the best play callers in the country. You know, getting stuff up, ready for him, and they've had a full week to kind of prep him and everything. So I think he's going to be the guy. Now, there is a slim chance that if he does underperform and they're struggling, we might get to see Manning come in, and so there's always a
Boo.
chance there that yeah. So you need you got to know the risk going in, but yeah, I don't mind that at all. And then I think on BYU. I think Slovis makes for a pretty interesting tournament play. I think they're going to be slinging it around a little bit, and the running back room is kind of muddied a little bit now. I know I've seen Robbins. He's a bigger back, came from UNLV. Yeah, he had 16 carries last week for 4 fantasy points. I don't know. I mean, there's 4K for running backs getting that kind of carries. It's not bad, but I'm not going to get there. The receiver's a little bit more interesting. Chase Roberts has looked good. I think he caught one last week. Yeah, that's about all he did though. But we saw Houston have some success passing the ball against Texas last week, and it's should be kind of a similar game. If Texas gets up, BYU's going to be trailing, going to be throwing the ball around a little bit more. So Chase Roberts and then Cody Epps, 4K, been banged up a little bit. Came back though, played last week, looked pretty good. So I actually think Epps is probably my favorite pairing if you did go Slovis. But him and Roberts are both fine, and yeah, that's pretty much it in this one.
Yeah, I read your article this morning, then kind of went in a deep dive on Malik Murphy, and I think I sent you a video of like I was up at 5 a.m. watching Byron Leftwich college highlights because someone compared him to him. So that's just how life goes. Sometimes you gotta go down whatever road it takes you. So I'm for sure gonna have a Murphy team. I like it. I love Worthy, so I'm just gonna pair them two up. Just try to get different on one of my three teams. I'll go Brooks in the other two. Just kind of
Yeah,
like you mentioned. I didn't have a run back originally though, so now I can
yeah.
think
I mean,
about.
I don't think it's necessary. It's necessary, but I do think that if you want to kind of get the optimal there, that might be the way you need to go.
Yeah, I mean, if last spot I have 4K, I mean, which is very likely. I hope at least I have a 4K left. I might just throw Epps in. So I don't know if I
Yeah,
can get on slow.
yeah.
It's
Don't
not really no. I just don't know. I haven't watched him. Don't know much about him. Didn't really haven't really
You've
looked
had
into
plenty of
him.
time to watch him. Been everywhere.
I know.
This is, I think, his third, fourth team.
I just for some reason
Third
something
team,
in
I
my
think.
brain when I hear his name, I just think he sucks. Something somewhere
Yeah,
along the road.
it's not a real sexy name, is it?
Now
You just hear
he's done
Slovis
something.
and
He's done
think he's
something.
slow in the
Yeah.
head.
Yeah, exactly. Next game, we have Oregon versus Utah, 47 over under. Oregon 6.5 point favorites. We got a super expensive Bo Nix. He's let me down a lot this year. He did great for us last year, but I just don't think I can do it. I do think you can. There's some great plays for Oregon, and then maybe you can even run it back some Utah guys, but it's just not that sexy of a game really with these defenses being good. Um, who are you playing for Oregon?
Yeah, I think, like you
Bucky
mentioned
or
with Bo
Bucky
Nix,
or
he
Franklin?
just yeah, I like both of them. I think they're both good tournament plays. Don't think I'm going to get any Nix. I mean, he's probably going to have a game eventually where he gets about 40, but I'm tired of chasing it. Um, but yeah, I think Bucky and Franklin are both. I don't think they're going to get a lot of ownership. I just think that there's just so many good running back plays that you're not going to want to pay up even more for Bucky because I do think the defenses kind of scare you away a little bit. But we saw in Washington how much Bucky played. I mean, what he had, 22 carries, six
Mhm.
catches. I mean, I don't
He
know. I mean,
saved my
that's tough.
he saved my entire day
Yeah. What are you talking about last week or week before?
last week.
Yeah, last week. Well, yeah, I mean, I was talking about the week before that. Because
Oh,
Washington was, I think this game's a little bit more comparable to Washington because I do think Utah's going to be a tough game, so I do think they lean on him a little bit more. So yeah, I mean, I think with what he gets, I mean, he's going to be involved in the passing game, so I like him a lot. And then Franklin's just the dude. I mean, really about the only true spin up we have at receiver this week. Yeah, I mean, the next closest guy is 1,200 less than him, so very contrarian if you can get there. We got a little over an hour left until um, lock, and we may get some more value open up, and I think that's going to be about the only way. If there's some value I feel real good about, I might try to get to Franklin, but would probably rather just try to get to Bucky and roll with him. So yeah, those two are about the only thing I have interest in here. And then
okay.
I mean
Now,
Utah, just not. They're just one of those teams that they're a good team, but they just kind of get it done in so many different ways. They finally listed this
Back.
Bakai guy on here. Yeah, he's a started at safety, and now they've started moving him to running back, and I mean he's been good ever since. And the first time he's been on the slate or been on, they've actually been playable. So I think honestly he'd probably the guy I'd take a chance on because they do kind of get him involved with the passing game and has ran the ball pretty well too. So at 5K, I don't mind that. The receivers are just always just kind of a dart throw, so no interest there.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't really have much to add. I do think Franklin's just a fantastic GPP play because it's like you just said. I mean, 1,200 more than the next guy, and it's just hard to get to. I mean, especially with the expensive QBs we have, everyone's going to want to spend up. I mean, for the most part, the running backs, you're just not going to have any salary left for Franklin. So I think he might just make our $20 team. We're going to make at the end. But yeah, we'll go ahead and move on. We have two more games to get through. We need to speed it up since we're running just a little behind. We have Georgia versus Florida, game of the week, as some people are saying. 49 over under, and Georgia's 14-point favorites. Are you playing anybody in this one? Is there a need to? I struggle mightily with the Georgia guys, normally because they're just not even in the game, so I just never really look into the team. But what are we doing with Georgia?
Yeah, I think we saw Florida. It just really depends on what kind of Florida team you get. I do think that this Dejon Edwards, that they do split the running back carries a little bit, but I think he's kind of interesting. We saw Ray Davis for Kentucky just run wild on Florida, and you know, he's kind of. I'm not saying they're not similar backs, but I mean, definitely has the capability of doing the same. So, and he's going to have hardly any ownership, especially if like if we get Kendall Milton out, um, which he's questionable right now, that gives him even more of a boost. So he definitely makes for a really interesting GPP play. And I think we're with Bowers out now, we're going to see some ownership on some of these tight ends that's going to fill in for him. Oscar Delp is he's a redshirt for either way. He's been in the program 2 years. Was the number one tight end of the country 2 years ago, and he's not gonna. You can't say he's just gonna be Bowers because no one can kind of replicate what he does. But I think he'll get the first crack at it, get some good luck. So 3,400, I think he's one of the better value plays on the slate. I know you mentioned that Lawson Lucky. Georgia runs a lot of 12 personnel, so you're going to see a lot of two tight ends, which Delp was out there with Bowers was playing. So now Lucky's going to kind of step in there. So he obviously does get some uptick. 3K. It's definitely more of like if you're making a bunch of teams, he's kind of a
Yeah.
deeper GPP play, but don't mind it. Because I mean he's talented as well. I think he was the number 2 tight end come out of the country last year. He's an actual true freshman. Uh, and then for Georgia, like I always feel like this is a homecoming game for Carson Beck. He's from the Jacksonville area, so he's interesting. He's too priced up to play, but I do think once some of these receivers, we've not seen McConkey have a big game yet, and he's had some time now to get healthy. They had a bye week last week, so I think he's kind of interesting as well. He's priced down a little bit, so wouldn't mind taking a stab on him. But it's always tough with Georgia. There's just so many mouths to feed there. But it's definitely one to kind of monitor. Then like I said, if Milton's out, I think Edwards is very interesting.
Would anyone
Just
else come into play if just sorry to interrupt you, but if Milton was out,
um, not
like
really.
anyone even worth like setting your lineup around?
No. This is just kind of if you get to this point, your team, you got a couple pieces left and need to fill it, and you land on one of these. I
It's
don't mind it.
it's funny because
I
I was
think
looking.
Delp's kind of the guy. Like if you want some value,
Yeah, I mean, you could realistically, you could probably play Delp and Edwards, right? Or would you not do that?
yeah,
I
you
mean, because
can. I
you're
mean,
not
for
really,
sure.
yeah. So I was thinking you're not really counting on Delp to steal a ton of work. But no, as I was looking through this slate, I mentioned earlier I never play Georgia guys, so I was looking at Edwards and I was curious
Yeah.
to see what you had to say about him. So I mean, that's gonna be a way to get different on this slate. It's just, I mean,
hmm
a lot of the chalk is good chalk, but I mean, Edwards is a good play. I mean, we seen what Davis did to Florida. But moving on, this is going to be a fun game. I think it's USC versus Cal, 66 and a half over under. USC is only 10-point favorites because they suck. It's been a shit show to watch them in the last couple games. I've lost a ton of money live betting them. I think you were on that train with me. It's been no fun. Can you pay up for Caleb? Is he too expensive? What receivers you like? And then touch on the Cal side.
Yeah, it's tough. Because if you just look at this game and don't think about any other outside factors, I mean, it looks like a great spot for Caleb Williams. But man, there's just something that's just I don't know. We just with the way the landscape of college football is now, we know how valuable Caleb Williams is, what his brand is. It's like, what does he get really for going out here and? I mean, he's out of the Heisman race now. They lost back-to-back games. They're out of the playoff contention. So it's just like, I mean, how motivated is he? I mean, he looked visibly frustrated past 2 weeks.
He was a
You
defeated
know,
man
and
on the bench.
yeah, and I don't know. I mean, he could prove me wrong and go out here and just light up Cal, but I don't know. I don't want to play him and sit there and be like, I knew this was going to happen. So yeah, I don't know. If you're doing 3 teams, I'd play him in one. Um, but if you're just making one single entry type thing, I think I'm going to go the fade route. And if that's the case, as much as I hate it, I'm not probably going to have any USC pieces because we already know how tough it is. Even if they, at full strength, it's just like, it's always a question each week is who you're going to play with Caleb Williams. So, yeah, don't think I'm going to even the running back room's interesting just because like we did see Austin Jones kind of take over last week, but if taking over is getting 5 carries, I mean, I don't know if that really does much for anyone because USC they're the most pass first. I mean, they
So,
literally just use the run to set up the pass.
have they played with a lead much this year? I mean, I know they've only struggled these last 2 games, but have they really been in a spot where they could
Well, it's like
just?
even that Colorado game a few weeks back. I mean, they got up pretty early on that one, but they still just
Oh yeah, because I remember we talked about we made a team together and we went Lloyd.
yeah, Lloyd scored the first touchdown and then just
Yeah,
I
and then
mean, he
Caleb,
had
they just kept throwing it. That's whenever we
mhm.
knew.
Yeah. I mean, I think, Branch is the guy that I just love. He doesn't play enough snaps though to really feel good about it, but he's the most electric guy on the field. So if I took a chance on anyone, it would be Branch. But that's just if I'm making quite a few teams. So I think the Cal side's definitely more interesting. I mean, I even think Cal plus 10 is a pretty good bet. And I mean, I wouldn't even mind taking a stab at the Cal money line being at home. And if USC is what I'm kind of thinking, the defense already sucks. So it's like, if they've kind of shipped it in already, um, Cal could just win this game outright. So, but yeah, like I said, on the Cal side, Mendoza's looked good. They had a bye week last week. Yeah, so he got hurt in that Utah game, but he should be good to go. Not heard anything about him being out. So definitely my favorite value at quarterback. A couple guys you can pair him up with. I think Taj Davis is my favorite. Um, has looked a lot better since Mendoza took over. So like him a lot. Hunter is also in play. They're both so cheap. I mean, theoretically you could double stack them, but I probably just pick one. Just don't think there's really a need to get double stack that up. And this Jay Knott, I feel like we got a lot of running backs in this like right in this price range. A couple hundred off that can make some interesting GPP play. But yeah, he you know USC just. I mean, I watched last week that Jackson for Utah just gash him on the ground, and Ott could do the same. Catch some passes, run the ball some. I mean, if you told me Alt was the highest scorer on the slate this today, then I mean I really wouldn't be surprised. So I think he's a very very interesting GPP play.
Yeah, no, this whole show I've literally been waiting on us to get to the Cal to know who to play Mendoza with. So it's Taj, there's Davis.
Yeah, I think so.
All right, that's what I've been waiting for, baby. Put a big star by his name. So, do you think? I mean, how different will it be if you just play 2 or 3 Cal guys? Well, maybe not 3, but 2 Cal guys and no run back. You think a lot of people are going to try to force a run back? whether it be Williams or just one of these USC receivers?
Yeah, I mean, I think, I mean, don't. It's a scary fade. Don't get me wrong. I mean, Caleb Williams is still probably going to get plenty of
Third?
ownership. Um, yeah, depending on what you're in. I mean, I would say at least 20.
Yeah.
Because I mean, he's gonna grade out great. It's just more so kind of the things that the computers don't see. And I mean, I'm still kind of debating on it because, like I said, it is scary. I mean, you're arguably the best player in the country, so it's like in a great matchup. Um, so yeah, I don't know. I think it's going to be probably the highest owned game stack as well, just because the cow pieces are so easy
Yeah.
to get to, and going Caleb Williams and Mendoza is just a real easy way to start your team and go one of these cow receivers and even take a chance on one of their USC receivers. If you did, um, I know I mentioned Branch, but he's just so risky just because, like I said, I mean, he might play one or two snaps each offensive possession if you're lucky. Taj Washington's looked really good. He's priced up. No interest in Mario Williams. I've been down that road too many times. Yeah, Brandon Rice and Washington are the only two that I would feel somewhat comfortable with playing.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. I think we got lucky with the Branch touchdown a few weeks back, didn't we? He went hardly
No,
ever out.
you're probably talking about Mario
Oh,
against
yeah, yeah,
Colorado.
against Colorado. Yep.
He caught one, but yeah, Taj Washington's definitely probably the most explosive, and he's out there quite a bit. Um,
Okay.
and Rice has had a couple big games. Singer's the guy that's supposed to have been the dude this year. Came from Arizona, had a lot of expectations, and he's just they're just such a hard team to figure out. So
I
that's
mean,
the only thing that knocks.
if you're not going Caleb, I really don't see a problem with fading these USC guys. But I mean, the problem would be fading Caleb, of course, if he goes for 40. But
Yeah,
it's too risky. I mean, there's guys in better spots, receivers that are going to get the targets. But we're running a little behind. Well, actually, we're right on time. Need your favorite play? I can go first if you're not ready, and then we can make our team together.
yeah. Go ahead and
Yeah.
do
So
yours.
my favorite play, to come to no surprise, is going to be Worthy. This is just we're large field GPPs. I think that Brooks is going to see massive ownership. I like the pivot to Worthy. Heck, I wouldn't be surprised if they both scored. Texas is for sure going to put up some points, but no, I like Worthy. I think no one's going to spin up the wide receivers, and if they do, they're definitely probably not going to be clicking on Worthy's name.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I think for me, I'll give you my three at each position. I think Garrett Green's my favorite quarterback. Um, Singleton's my favorite kind of contrarian running back because, like I said, I do think Brooks, Harvey, um, and I think even Ward for Kansas State's going to get some good ownership. So,
Moss will
everyone
be
can't
the
play.
one, right?
Yeah, and Moss. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah. So, I mean, you're going to get, even playing. I mean, that's what's wild about it. I mean, Singleton might have one of the best matchups on the board, but he's going to be under owned just because there's so much chalk there.
Yeah,
So yeah, I think that those are the three. Well, you said Moss, Harvey, and Brooks are the three chalk. So
yeah.
you can play all three of them in a lineup, but I think the move is to kind of play maybe two of them and then get different on the third, something like that, to try to get you a little bit different. Because I do think a lot of lineups are going to start with that. So yeah, so like I said, I like mixing Singleton in there, Garrett Green at quarterback, and I like Ben's Worthy a lot. But I think I'm going to go with Coleman. Um, like I said, that looks like Johnny Wilson's going to be out, so he could get you a good early boost there. Catch you, gets you 100 something yards, and make for a good start to your day.
No, I love it. So I got our $20 team pulled up. We can start it real quick. You want me to go first, or you want to start us off this time?
Yeah, I mean, we'll go ahead and we'll put your boy Worthy in.
I'm about to blow your mind who I'm going to pick.
Let's hear it.
I don't know if you're going to like it or not, but we're going to go with Smith from Houston.
Oh, yeah,
Just
and
because,
I'd like to see. kind of what that's going to do with Manjack being out.
I mean, it's got to help the situation. As far as is either going golden or
well, I don't know if it necessarily helps. If Donovan Smith losing one of his best receivers, I don't know if that necessarily helps.
Well, I mean, I meant choosing the receiver. I guess choosing the receivers, but
yeah, it looks like I'm seeing Dalton Carnes and Joshua Cobbs supposed to see more snaps at receiver. Don't really know much about either one of them. Looks like they're
Carnes. I
what?
mean, Carnes had 5 for 68, 2 for 17, 4 for 47, and a touchdown. I mean, he's only 3,500.
Yeah,
I mean, that obviously that's just game looking at game logs. So what could mean nothing.
yeah. So who you want to pair up with him then? Because I mean, I feel like if you're going to go Donovan Smith, you need to go one of these dudes.
That's where I'll let you make the call. I'm not good with these receivers because I don't watch enough college football just to know them. You have the look test. You can put a body with the name.
Yeah, I mean, I think
I read
this is a
Golden.
21.
I think of Golden
Yeah.
Tate whenever I read Matthew Golden.
I just don't know if we can pay up for Golden again if we
Yeah.
already got Worthy in to get these running backs. So let's just take a chance on this Carnes and 3,500. Yeah, and then running back. We'll we need to go at least one of these chalky guys, I would think. So either Moss or Harvey. Who you think?
I think I want to make us go Moss because if I don't, we won't end up with them.
Okay.
And then I think we need to throw Coleman in there.
You're getting real wild at receiver.
That's what I want. I was gonna do Franklin, but I don't know if we can afford it. Franklin was in my mind before you mentioned Coleman as your play of the day. So, I mean, if we could
I
go,
think we're gonna have to go Mendoza for a quarterback.
Oh, that's fine. I mean, that leaves us 6,900. Oh, and we got to spend up for a running back.
Mm-hmm.
Edwards.
73, and then it gets 65.
I think it's got to be Edwards. It's got to be. It can't be Ott, but it needs to be Edwards or Jordan. Your call.
Yeah, we could go. Yeah, or him, or even Bucky.
Yeah, no, we're Bucky, because we're not going Franklin. So yeah, whatever.
Yeah, let's go Bucky, and then that should leave us just enough for Harvey.
Top 30.
So switch Bucky to the flex. Yeah, but I mean, you're already getting so different. You don't want to fade all this chalk.
We don't have UCF, so yeah, no, for sure. Harvey's a must. He should have been. It actually works out perfect.
Yeah.
So we got Smith, Moss, Harvey, Worthy, Carnes, Coleman, and Bucky.
I mean, we don't have a. What?
It makes me want to take. I know we're sitting here going past time, but this is how we normally fuck around, anyways. I like. Makes me want to go Murphy instead of
Smith.
If it does anything.
Yeah, what would they? Because I think that might even let you get up to how close would it be to getting Taj Davis for Cal? Over.
Let's see. It gives us 900.
4,400. I don't think that's enough.
Oh yeah, because we wouldn't go Carnes, would we?
No, he's 49, so we'd have to get. So if you took.
Oh, you probably have to come down off Irving.
Yeah, if you took Bucky down to, you could go Jordan for Louisville.
Yeah, well, I think he said he was one of the best GPP plays on the slate.
Yeah. Yeah, I say we do that. That makes that, or we just go down to Singleton and leave the money.
That's your call. That's your pick.
Yeah, let's just go Jordan.
Okay, and we're going Davis.
Yeah, Yeah.
and then Jordan. Okay.
Yep,
Yeah,
I like it. It's
I'm not letting you
definitely
talk me into Singleton.
talk you into what?
I'm not letting you talk me into Singleton. No,
Yeah,
I'm
I
just
just
kidding.
suffer in that.
But no, updated team real quick, then we'll get out of here. It's Murphy, Moss, Harvey, Worthy, Davis, Coleman, Jordan, Mendoza. Oh, if there's
Yep,
ever was a team to take 50K down.
yep, I
But
like it.
yeah, it's been great. I'm excited to grind out these teams, these builds, take me a little nap, and then move on to NBA tonight. Maybe some late night college football. But
Yep,
it's been
we'll
a
see
pleasure as
you
always.
all next week. Yep, been fun again, and like I said, see y'all next week. Look for us here. We got a promo code. Plenty of stuff going on the site. We got plenty of bets, DFS action. Like I said, with NBA coming up, we got a lot of new tools this year too with NBA. So come check all that out and definitely jump in Discord because we're in there all the time. So yeah, we'll see y'all next time.
Yep. Peace, everybody.